Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I'm Eric Anthony. That's
Hello.
my pal Dave. Dave, how the hell are you?
I am hell, as always, dude. How about you? What's going on? What you been up to?
I've been working out in the cold, which isn't the most fun, but when I'm back inside, snuggled in my blankets, I've been reading the Infinite Crisis Omnibus.
Ooh.
So it's
wow, you gone big.
Portions of I said, how am I going to start the year? So I finished the Black Cat Omnibus, which was a lot of fun right down to the very end. It even I was surprised. I was like, ooh, I didn't see that coming. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't see that coming type of deal. And now with Infinite Crisis, because I've read bits and pieces of all of these stories in different places throughout my reading, but never in a compiled format where this is how the story unfolded. These were the things that led to the big event. So I'm reading the OMAC project for the first time and how it ties in with the Superman sacrifice story, et cetera, et cetera. The death of Blue Beetle, all the pieces.
A crossover within a crossover with the sacrifice within OMAC, within Infinite Crisis. Like, what? I'm really looking forward to ordering that.
That's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about that. Of course, as always, we got to say thank you to everybody who's watching live with us on Twitch, our usual suspects. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new watching this for the first time, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. I don't even want to know what Omega Fred said. As well, on the YouTube, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, we appreciate that as well. And on any podcast platform that you like, if you're on your way to work, listening to us in your car, thanks for hanging out with us. Leave us a review. It always helps us to make better stuff and to get us in the mix of the algorithm with the other comic book podcasts. Come on, let's be honest. We're pretty fun to listen to. But of course, more importantly, omniversecomics.guide. I say it every time because it is the most fun you can have when in your comic book reading. If you have these reading orders that Dave puts together and these reviews and all these different contributing people that writing articles and things like that, it makes the comic book reading experience a lot more fun and what's the word? Not just invested, but like you're not lost. It's very easy to get lost. And Dave, I don't know how you do it, dude, but that website is awesome. You do such a great job. What's the secret, dude? You got to tell me the secret.
I'm going to tell you the secret, man. The secret is, well, here's the thing, right? Because I've got to fit this thing in. Not to big myself up, because you big me up every week on this, which is awesome, and I love you for it.
You deserve it.
Get out of here, you big lug.
Nah, credit where it's due.
But yeah, I mean, it's trying to fit that in amongst working as well, because you do a full-time job, then a full-time Omniverse, and it's tiring. And I do a creative job as well, so I'm kind of doing the creative and the creative. So it's working the mind, man. It's keeping it moving and keeping it busy, and it knackers you out. But so I have been trying out this little shot of stuff called Magic Mind, which you drink every morning, and it perks you up. And you don't then have to drink like 16 cups of coffee, which is my normal habit, because I'm really bad at controlling my coffee habit. So, yeah,
I'm not too great either.
No?
Magic Mind.
Magic Mind.
I didn't know there was an actual secret.
There is an actual secret. Yeah, so I've never really been doing the healthy thing. I've always eat really badly, and I've just been a massive junk food eater my entire life. Magic Mind basically has got all these really healthy little bits. It's like Miracle for Hour Man, but it lasts more than an hour.
Yeah.
So it lasts like the whole day. And yeah, it packs you up. You can have it with coffee in the morning. You can then carry on and not have to constantly just top up with caffeine the whole day, because I'm trying not to be that unhealthy. I've got 2 kids and I want to kind of look after myself and be able to keep doing this lovely stuff that we do. So it's full of stuff that I don't understand, and I'm sure at some point we'll explain what it is, but I don't know. All sorts of crazy ingredients. Bacopa, Manieri, you know the stuff. Miracle, I think that's what it's called. It's Magic Mind. So there's a special offer, and this is only available in January. You need to jump on this. You can get 1 month for free when you're subscribing for 3 months. So if you jump on magicmind.com/Jan Omniverse, and then use the code Omniverse20 and that gives you an extra 20% off, which brings you to a massive total of 75% off. That only lasts till the end of January, so you better go jump on that right now so you don't miss it. So I need my hit, so I need to go back and order some more Magic Mind. That's Omniverse 20 magicmind.com/Jan Omniverse, and go and get your Magic Mind in.
There actually was a secret, so it was worth asking. Thank you for sharing that, because you want to know what I could use some Magic Mind, but it does sound like a secret superhero potion. How fitting for the Omniverse guy to actually be using secret potion.
Get your powers through the Omniverse.
That's right, Magic Mind. Check it out. Let's get into our incoming for February. I'm going to start with Jim Zub's Conan the Barbarian.
Oh.
I am not a uber Conan the Barbarian fan to be like, I can't wait for this. It's just right up my alley. But I know how much Jim Zub loves Conan. It was a dream for him to one day write Conan, and for him to be able to not build a universe, but really tell his story. It's always fun when a creator gets an opportunity to express their love of the character and that universe that they exist in, right? That lore. Mm-hmm. So this is not going to be with Marvel. Let me just pull it up on my...
Is it Titan?
It is going to be through Titan Comics. Dave knows what he's talking about. Yes. The artist alongside Jim Zub on this is listed as Rob De La Torre. Ooh. The artwork in the book, which I think you can preview on Amazon if that's your online place to shop globally. It's beautiful. It looks like throwback Marvel years of somewhat of that John Buscema type of style to Conan.
Yeah.
Very high adventure fantasy. So I'm willing to give this a shot because, again, it's that love that the creative team have for the character. And kind of like the Kurt Busiek era with Conan, you knew that the people taking the helm, oftentimes the people who take the helm on Conan really care about the characters. So if you like Conan, give this a shot, because I've heard very good things about it. And it was one of those conversations that I eavesdropped on where I heard him talking to other creators about, like, I'm so excited. They're letting me do this, and I'm going to have like 25. I just heard him kind of like the kid at school telling his ideas. So because of those the anecdotes, I'm like, all right, let's see what he had cooking in his brain.
How many issues is
it? So Conan the Barbarian. This is 6. This first trade is going to be 6, 4. This collects 4 issues. It is 128 pages, your typical trade size. Good entry point. See what's going on, and hopefully he's given the real estate to tell a long form story. When it's all said and done, we'll get a nice chunker that me and Dave will be able to get our hands on.
Oh yeah, gotta get your hands on a chunker.
So Conan the Barbarian. That's my
nice choice. Nice choice. As you know, I love Conan. So it's the bangs, dude.
Yeah, you love it. What do you call it? A
fringe.
What's the term? Fringe. That's right. Fringe.
Yeah, it's a fringe. We do have some Conan fans in though this very eve, including Mr. Omega Breadage, who says that he recommends the run. I think he's liked his work with the character so far. He knows that Conan is divisive, but there's a low-key love for the character. It's weird. It's a weird one. I don't 100% get it, but people who love Conan love Conan.
It's always been people, you're either totally into it or you're just not interested in the character. And I've leaned more of the not so interested in the character in the past, but the stuff that I read from Kurt Busiek, I'm like, okay, there's some really interesting storytelling you can get out of this. So I'm willing to give it a chance.
Sweet. Nice shout. Cheers, Deuterino. Do you know what? I'm going to do something that's going to annoy people. You ready? My first choice tonight, dude, is going to be something that's technically not a comic book. It's the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Master Edition, Omnibus, Volume 1.
That's a completely justifiable choice. You kidding? Tell us about it.
Okay. They've already released the original early 80s official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Omnibus. I dodged it because I thought, like, I like the series that came after. They released the series that came after, which was like mid 80s to late 80s in a really chunky omnibus. and it's just an absolute pleasure to flick through. And even though that information is technically like 20, no, 30, how many years out of date? A lot of years out of date. It doesn't
There's
matter. I love looking through the handbooks because you can look at all the powers thing and like the original first appearances before they started retconning things to go like, actually, no, that was them with a
right.
mask on in a thing in Defenders #7 or whatever. So I love it because I had those books as trades as well when I was a kid. I had the 10-volume official
Yeah.
handbook of the Master Edition, that series. So then they released the up to 89, and that was the thinner book. That's like 8 issues. And now they've done what they released in. This is what this one is going to be is the 90s version, which essentially was the last of its kind. So it was released as binder entries with little holes in.
I remember that.
Yeah, you take them
Yeah.
out and you'd alphabetize everything yourself. So you got like random characters from all over the alphabet and teams and stuff. And then you bought the binder and then you stuck them in the binder. I couldn't get hold of it here. I had about 3 of them, I think, of like 20 something. I think there were 20 issues. Were they issues? They were like pages, chunks of pages. They did release them as essential black and white editions, which I had for a bit, but now they're doing this. So it's going to be 2 books. And again, it's a super, super chunk. So there it is. It's coming out on February the 6th. It's 888 pages, so there'll probably be a similar sized. Oh, it was 36 issues. A similar sized edition for Volume 2 whenever that comes out. And it's just the difference with this one is at the end of each character thing. So they did like this weird pose thing, and they'd show them from the front and the side and from their arse. You can have a look at every character's arse. Just flick through and look at their bum.
Like you get like spinning them around.
Well, I don't know what that was, but yes, you can absolutely do that in the
No, you can
in the privacy of your own home. So, and then on the reverse side, it would do all the stats and the eye colors and all that kind of thing and the first appearances. And then it would list a bunch of key appearances as well. So you could kind of go like, oh, they did a thing in Ghost Rider #25. I'm going to go and check that out. I love all that stuff. So obviously, as someone that makes reading orders, this is the kind of thing that I thrive on. I'm really loving the idea of getting that on my shelf and whacking it up there with the others. I hope they re-release the first volume again because I missed it and I do regret it. We are I know I keep plugging this, but we are doing a regular feature on the Omniverse Comics .guide website, which is official handbook of the Marvel Universe Book of the Dead, where I jump back and look at the 1980s Marvel handbook, just the Book of the Dead issues, and go through the history as covered in there, the key issues, the key stories to read, and then whether or not they're still dead. Because let's face it, they're probably all back. There are 2 characters up at the moment. The first 2, Airwalker and Ancient One. So obviously we're going alphabetically. So subscribers can read that. I love it all. I love that stuff. It's super geeky. It's not a story. Don't expect a story. It's just lots of profiles. But man, is it geeky. It's the good shit.
I've always heard of the fondness expressed for those Marvel handbook entries where you put them all together in the binders. Like there's definitely an audience that will remember this and be very, very fond. What I was doing with the spin was like when you take the character and you're able to look, it would be looking
it's
at
like
them
a
from all
360
angles, right? Like if they were on the monitor in the villain's lair and they would, pull up the profile, and I like that effect of how they're drawn. Just for that, tricking your mind. That's cool. I like that. That's a completely legitimate pick.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my number 4. Back to a character who I've been talking quite a lot about recently. Coincidentally, I guess, or maybe not, but that is Spider-Woman, and this is the Spider-Woman from Carla Pacheco, along with Perry Perez on the art with Paulo Sequeira. This is a character that I've become fond of, so now I'm just kind of curious of what happens next with their story. This is collecting the 2020 series, issues 1 to 21.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's got a good chunk of comics, for a reasonable price. The description, I don't know anything that happened to that character after what I've read, so I'm not sure if this leads pretty close to that or what would follow suit.
Yeah.
But in this, it's basically saying Spider-Woman's back. She's pulling no punches. She hasn't been feeling herself lately. She's been angry, irritable, unwell, and she takes a simple security gig to help her get back on her feet. She finds herself besieged by unknown forces to destroy everything around her. Sounds like your typical comic book description. But again, she's got team ups. She goes back to Wondergore Mountain, to the nightmarish place that gave her powers, on a road trip to outer space with Captain Marvel. So all kinds of adventures are probable to ensue. The fact that they've committed, again, to putting out a collection of all 21 issues from what seems to be, and I could be wrong, but it seems to be a pretty tight-knit group of creators. Carla Pacheco with the 2 illustrators listed there. Maybe there's more, but I'm down for it. And the cover is striking. It's a really great cover. It's just her.
Where have I seen that?
On the side of a building. It looks like she's upside down, but she's just on the side of a building, and you can see the rest of the city skyline pointed vertically. It's an interesting cover. Spider-Woman, Carla Pacheco, Perry Perez, and Paulo Sequeira.
Wow.
I'm down. I'm in.
I'm so glad that was your choice and not mine, because I would have screwed that up so bad. I can't say all those names.
Why? Oh, the names?
I can't say my own.
I want. I can't say yours either.
No one can.
No one can. All right, that's my number 4.
Well, dude, I'm going to do the expected now, and I'm going to jump over to Dark Horse. It's the Lonesome Hunters, The Wolf Child, which is essentially volume 2 of the Lonesome Hunters. I don't know a huge amount about it. It's 104 pages, so I think that's probably 4 issues, but it's a continuation of the story of this dark, kind of gothic, mystical monster hunter story about a young girl who meets this old fella. Oh, it's in here somewhere. We did it on the episode. She meets this old fella who was like a retired monster hunter, is trying to keep his head down. And then this weird stuff starts happening in their apartment building, and it affects her life directly, and then he's drawn into it, and then they're kind of forced to become friends, essentially. It's a really sweet dynamic between the 2 characters, and it kind of turns into this little, I don't know if it's going to turn into kind of a road trip at some point, a road trip of some sort at this point, but it looks that way. It could go any way. I literally don't know, but it's Tyler Crook writing and drawing, and the atmosphere in it is just, it's beautiful. The pace is beautiful. It looks beautiful. It's a fantastic book, and that last series couldn't put it down at all. So I'm expecting more of the same, and if we get more of the same, I'll be happy. But hey, there might be some surprises in it. So I know very little about it, and I purposely don't want to look into it, but it's one of the books I'm most excited about for February. So a nice, quick, easy win. But if you haven't read volume 1, go grab it, because you'll need it for this book.
Was this the book you mentioned, volume 1, before, Tyler Crook? Because I remember you said his name before. Was that in our top 20? I don't remember.
It was in the upper end of the top 20, like the first episode.
Okay. I'm going to go with the obvious. This is a DC event.
Ooh.
It's an omnibus that's being reprinted.
Oh.
It's 0 Hour, Crisis in Time. I remember when this was coming out, I was like the perfect age. I was 10 years old, and I was, whatever comics I could get my hands on at the time were all tied into 0 Hour. So I remember this being a big deal. And every issue, no matter what the character was, had a 0 issue. And it's always included, even in like my comic shop lists, or whenever you're doing like a cataloging, there's that 0 issue because of this event. So it has significance. And it was the first time that DC tried to, I guess every 10 years, they've got that sort of thing to restart or
tweak,
redo the universe, tweak, right? And this was their first tweak post-Crisis on Infinite Earths, where something timey-wimey happens throughout all the line. And what was fun about the stuff that I read as a kid, whether it was like a random issue of Batman or a random issue of like the Tim Drake Robin, was that they were thrown into these little adventures with their counterpart, or a version of their counterpart that they hadn't seen, or like, where are you from? How are you here? How are we crossing paths? Like, it's Barbara Gordon still as Batgirl, or Dick Grayson teaming up with Tim Drake as Robin.
Yeah.
It was fun stuff like that. The event itself was a little confusing, but I wonder if it would be more fun to read it in this collected format where you get all the pieces come together. There you go. There it is. That's what it would look like. Have you read it, Dave?
I've read the majority of 0 Hour a long time ago, a couple of years ago, And yeah, I found it kind of confusing. I didn't get a lot of the references, and I didn't really know who the JSA really were or what the significance was. I mean, I knew but not enough to really appreciate what was happening. It looks like it's in some kind of order, which is great. And I'm going to read this and do a reading order. Whether it ends up matching this or not, who can say? Probably not, because I'm anal. But yeah, I mean, I had to get this. I mean, I was quite lucky because this is really hard to get hold of, and I'm really glad they're re-releasing it because, it's such a nice book. And they haven't kind of gone to town on everything. They could have put every Zero issue in, and they haven't. I don't think it's every tie-in either. So they probably could do maybe a little companion, but they haven't yet. So it's still an option, but I think it's enough to kind of. There are plenty of tie-ins, as you can see. It was a 4-5 issue series. Was it 4-3-2-1-0 when? Was Zero?
It was something like that. It wasn't a very long miniseries. No, you're right. All of that collects whatever is happening throughout the entire catalog of DC Comics at the time. So I wonder how it all fits together as one omnibus, to read it that way. Because even things like we've always discussed, sometimes that's the best way. I'm doing Infinite Crisis right now, which is, I guess, the sequel to that in a way.
Yeah.
When you read the event like an Infinity Gauntlet and you see what leads up to it, you don't really appreciate Infinity Gauntlet without Thanos Quest. Like that really is the key to that story and some of the Silver Surfer stuff, right? So this probably is a more fulfilling read. But if you're an omnibus collector, this is a big one. This is one I know that people have their eye on when it comes out. They want to add it to their collection for completion's sake. And also there's so many different artists and stories and like what if scenarios that are included in a story like this because of the time travel element to it. So I might give it a chance this time around.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so that's my number 3. Yeah, that's my number 3.
Your number 3. I'm expecting to do a reread of it this year because I want to do a reading order for it. So my plan is to read it as well. So we might end up be able to compare notes. Possibly.
No, honestly, it would probably be helpful because there's stuff there where you're like, what are you changing now? For what reason? And how does that, right? That's the tricky part. Yeah. What? Okay, that happened in 0 Hour. So this is one of those moments. It's helpful to read if you really are if you want to be ensconced, if you will, into DC lore. Like that?
Yeah, thanks, Shakespeare. Roy! I don't know who Roy is, but he's not here tonight. Instead, you got us. And we are going to talk about what's new to the Omniverse. We've got our top 20 collected editions. So the top 20 collected editions, part 2, that is our number 10 to number 1 best collected editions of last year. It is our personal, honest take on what we loved most from last year. On top of that, we have the first part of the Doctor Doom reading order, which covers 1962 to 1981. So that's the first 20 years of Doctor Doom's storyline, basically. But that was requested by Mr. Biggles in our Discord chat. Thank you for requesting it. I have fulfilled my obligation. We've done a little bit in the Discord where we've asked people what they want to see being covered as event reading orders and character reading orders, and people have made their suggestions for the year. So if you want to get in on these conversations, jump in and join the chat and shout at us, and we might still consider it if there's time. Finally, our event focus that we've dropped on for the last in the last 7 days was Son of Banner. On top of that, you've got our regular news roundup and the USA Comic-Con tracker for 2024. So if you're looking for a Comic-Con to go to and you live in the Americas, then that's a place you can look for more information.
We are back to our countdown. Your number 3.
My number 3, dude.
Take it away.
Is Thunderbolts Red Omnibus. So I've got the 3 volumes of the original series that led into the kind of Civil War era as well, because they kind of relaunched it with new Thunderbolts. I skipped the Caged one. It's all right, but I'm not that bothered. And I've gone with this one. So it's in Thunderbolts Red. Originally, it was just called Thunderbolts, but for the purpose of this, It's red themed characters. So they're led by Red Hulk, who I won't spoil it in case you don't know who that is, but he was a pretty major character at the time. I think most people know, but just in case, there's still some people that don't. Elektra, Deadpool, Punisher, but his skull is red. Go with it. Ghost Rider's in it because he's famously red. And it's got, I think, Red Leader is in it as well. So it's like the leader, but he's got red on the front of his name. So it's a whole host of redness, and it's their little Black Ops team. It's Red Hulk's Black Ops team, and they carry out these dirty little missions for him and wind each other up. But my favorite part was actually the Infinity tie-ins. So in Hickman's Avengers, they did this big event called Infinity, which was Thanos doing a thing that was so completely out of character. I'm not going to go into it, but the Thunderbolts tied into it, and they had to carry out this little mission, and it was written by Charles Soule. We were talking about Charles Soule recently, and yeah, it's just, that is the highlight for me. It's a great bit, and it's been so long since I read it, I can't remember what happens, but I just thought it was just a lot of fun. It's just a ridiculous mix of characters. The Punisher, Deadpool, Hulk, Elektra on one team. Weird. But just a fun amount of weirdness. I think the initial run is...
But those usually turn out well.
Yeah, it's just it's a really silly, weird, fun book. So, yeah, Punisher's skull is red, Omega Bread. It is a spurious link, and he's just ordered it. So, way! We'll take commissions. Marvel, we won't. We don't want your dirty money, Marvel. So, that's my choice. That's my number 3 choice tonight, Thunderbolts Red. I will just actually go into a little bit of the details. It is issues 1 to 32 and an annual number 1. And it's 744 pages, oversized, Thunderbolts Red Omnibus hardcover.
Very nice. I feel so guilty because I was so excited about having those first 3 volumes of Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten around to finishing those yet.
How far through are you?
And I was...
You're in volume 1?
Volume 1.
Oh, dude. I had the same and I haven't even started one yet.
To go. Yeah, but I think you've read them before.
Yeah.
I've only read up to where I've read. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's one of those series that I want to complete. I want to get through because I was so excited and happy that they finally released it, and you're going to get all of the Fabian Nicier's part of that story because they collected it always up to a point, and then it never really completed his run in a collected format. So now it's there, and it's like, now they're at Thunderbolt Red. Man. Well, it's a cool pick. Very nice.
Thank you.
I like those offbeat teams.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Speaking of team-ups, I didn't realize that Jeff Johns was writing Justice Society of America again. Volume 1 of this new series comes out February 27th, 2024. He is working with Miguel Janin and Jordi Belair. Great people to work on the book with.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think anybody is more tightly associated with JSA at this point than Jeff Johns. Him being back on the book, I'm willing to give it a chance. The synopsis on the back of the book is pretty simple. The world's first and greatest superheroes return, or do they? A long-lost hero from the JSA crashes into our era with a grave warning, but it's too late. A mysterious, malevolent enemy has invaded the entire history of JSA, and an all-new team must come together to defeat it. All right, let's see what happens. Let's give it a chance. I like those legacy characters. I like Jeff Johns on the book, Mikael Janin. What do they got cooking now with the new era of JSA? I'm definitely going to have my eye out for this because big Jeff Johns fan here.
Yeah, well, I'm really intrigued. But I was trying to figure out if is it set on Prime Earth? Is it in mainstream continuity, or is it like a Earth 2 deal? Do you know?
To be honest, I don't know. I'm not sure because I know that Jeff Johns is, going full tilt with the Ghost Machine stuff, and I'm not exactly sure what his association with it is with DC at this point. Like before, to me, Jeff Johns was like running DC with Jim Lee and doing all the movie and TV stuff and yada yada yada. But now, is he to know that he's still writing a book and back with the JSA? I'll give it a whirl. Why not? Add it to the tickle trunk.
Put your tickle trunk down.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that
But
book as well. That's a really good shout.
I got a strange soft spot for JSA. Like I even started
Mm.
watching Stargirl. I'm not a
Oh
very big fan of the television shows and movies at this point, just
no.
because everything's kind of been done.
Mm.
But this one has that charm of the character. It captures Courtney Whitmore out of the pages of the comics, and sometimes it's silly, but you're like, well, they're going for it. They're giving it a shot. Okay, I need some just. And then when you go into the JSA headquarters, even when it's just done in like a trophy room, the comic book nerd in you is like, oh, that's good. It's the purple, the
Oh,
pink
I
pen
love
of this
that kind of,
character, like
yeah. I love
that
that
kind of
stuff.
stuff where it's like, yeah, all right, I'll watch for a little more. Why not? It's not hurting nobody. Yeah, it's fun.
My fourth choice tonight is Black Panther by Christopher Priest, Omnibus Volume 2. It wraps up the Christopher Priest run on the Black Panther, which was the initially a Marvel Knights launch, and then they kind of dropped the Marvel Knights part, because ultimately it doesn't really matter. The creative team is the creative team. But towards the end of it, though, the Black Panther, something happens to him, and someone else has to take over the mantle. So things change quite dramatically. So the Black Panther is a gun-toting trench coat wearing. This sounds so 90s, right? But go with it. He's a gun-toting trench coat wearing guy with like trousers on. He's got trousers, but he's got the Black Panther costume as well. And the covers are really cool. They were by Andy Kubert, as when Andy Kubert was playing with the angles and like just making everything look really cool. And the Christopher Priest run, it's very, very political. So expect that to happen. If you don't like that in your comics, but still try it, because like it's just so smart. It's a really smart series. The way they play with the Panther in the series as well is to appreciate the fact that he's a very, very difficult character to relate to. He's the king of a fictional high-tech African nation. Like, how do you relate to that character? So he kind of makes him a secondary character almost. It's his support cast that lead, essentially. And it was such a smart way to play it, because then he can still be aloof and you're wondering what he's thinking to almost that Batman degree, but you're still with Batman, you're still kind of with Batman. In this, like, what's he doing? Is he technically the bad guy right now? It was really smart. And then to throw this loop at issue 50, I think it was, around about there, to then have somebody else be the Black Panther. What's going on? I don't know if the intention was for it to go on longer. I think it may have been, because it ended up wrapping up with The Crew, which was a 7-issue series where the new Black Panther essentially is part of a team, but they're a non-team in a very kind of Defenders way. So they all hate each other, but they're all essentially working together. But Priest on Black Panther is comics gold. It was so Marvel Knights at the time was Joe Quesada, Jimmy Palmiotti, and they were the editorial. They were playing the editorial role for those books. They would select people that they thought would be really good on a title, and their sense for it was pretty much uncanny. They released some great stuff out of Marvel Knights, like getting Kevin Smith on Daredevil, Bendis on Daredevil, a lot of Daredevil. They had Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee on Inhumans, and they loads of others. The Punisher, we won't talk about the initial bit, but they eventually had Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon on The Punisher. How can you go wrong? So with this, they had Christopher Priest. Most of it was drawn by Sal Velluto in the first chunk in Volume 1. My memory's hazy on Volume 2. I think it shifts artists. But in this book, it collects issues 34 to 62, Incredible Hulk number 33, The Crew 1 to 7, and Thor 370. And that's not by Christopher Priest. It's an old issue, but they've thrown it in because it relates to a time travel story. That's a two-parter, I think. So it just kind of explains, like, what the hell was that story? And it's almost like that layered thing where it refers to another time travel story, and they go, let's put the time travel story in with the other, and it's madness. I don't want to spoil it, but it's 920 pages, oversized hardcover, beautiful Liam Sharp, nice simple Liam Sharp Black Panther on the front of that book. It's going to be a beaut. I'm really, really glad we finally got the full set. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I got those right behind Thanos right there.
Oh, you got
in
the paperbacks.
Original. I got
Yeah,
I've only read the first half of it. It's great stuff. I've read the first 36 issues. Great comics.
Yes.
Great comics.
Probably better to read it
recommendation.
in that format. I read it as a monthly thing, and there were times when I was going, geez, what happened last month? Because this is complicated stuff. I want to reread it as a full run. This is a good opportunity.
Yeah. Christopher Priest, I don't know if he is necessarily the best entry point writer for a comic book
It
reader
depends
to
what you
start
want.
with, because
If you really like
yeah,
the political stuff and the intrigue and the nicely revealed mysteries and the way that he sets things up, it might be the kind of thing that makes a new reader go, "Oh, I didn't know you could do this in comics." So it just depends
that's true.
on the viewer, the reader.
That's very true. That's a good point. Yeah. What he does with that character leads to Black Panther being the movie that you end up getting. That and the Don McGregor stuff, but very much so
Yeah.
what he puts in place.
One of the reasons why I didn't get on with the Black Panther film, the first film, I haven't even seen the second. The first film was because I wanted it to be more like the Christopher Priest books, which were very, very clever.
Understood.
You know, so clever, and then it felt like a toned down version. So, but yeah. Anyway,
My number five, or my number one, I'm going to go with Skull and Bones, which is a video game tie-in from Dark Horse, but it's written by John Jackson Miller, whose work I was familiar with from the Star Wars, The Old Republic, which was also happened to be a video game tie-in, but was excellent comics. So based off of that, I'm willing to give this a shot. It's only 76 pages, but there's an art book that's also, I guess because it's a video game tie-in, there's all these other things that Dark Horse is releasing along with the Skull and Bones story, the 76 or this 3-issue story that's going on. But John Jackson Miller, I really loved his Star Wars stuff. And I'm not sure if many people have given him a proper shout for it, because it's one of those pockets. Sometimes you get those writers who work in these little pockets that sometimes go unnoticed, but they're so good that they create like a little cult following. So I was taken aback by the fact that, oh, there's his name. He's working on something again that's a video game tie-in. So Skull and Bones, Dark Horse. Let's go with that. Dave, your last one.
Oh,
Tell
thanks,
us what you're
dude.
looking forward to.
My number 5 choice for February 2024 is Whistleblowers, 4 Who Fought to Expose the Holocaust to America. It's coming out from Dark Horse. I think it's a completely new book. It's written by Raphael Medoff, I think it is, but who's a historian. But it's a true story about the people that exposed the Holocaust as like a real thing during World War II. I was trying to find out if it's full color or not, because some of the Dean Motter stuff I read in the past is black and white. So, but I don't know. But it's 120 pages. It's paperback. I will read the initial blurb, which is, it's a compelling non-fiction graphic novel. So you're completely new. Whistleblowers is the true story of 4 courageous individuals who risked their careers or their lives to confront the unfolding Holocaust. I just thought it looked really interesting. I kind of like this historical stuff now after Dead Romans, and you know, it's nice to go back and kind of read those stories in a completely different way, because you'll get them on documentaries and Netflix, or kind of people dramatizing them in films. But it's a nice touch to do it in comics. It's a whole different way of doing it. It's a whole different experience. So yeah, I'm going to give this a shot. It's probably going to be heavy reading.
That's the magic though with the comic books, right? You can really tell any kind of story and break all the rules that you can't do in television, you can't do in movies. So
yeah,
everything is there. Everything can be found in a comic book storytelling format. It's great. Nice pick. I like that. To answer Omega Bread, who asked about the Priest run being purely a satire, I wouldn't say so. I don't think it's a satire. I think through the eyes of Everett Ross, you're getting the comedic kind of spin on things, but there's a lot of it's really good stuff.
He's kind of the comic relief, but he's also the accidental white racist. So it's a black writer about a cast of black characters, late 90s, early 2000s. And I think the key thing with this is like using Everett K. I don't know if they'd risk doing this now, but it was a genius move, because it's all that. So he says all the stuff that you're thinking, and you're like, oh, that's wrong. And it was such a nice way to tell the audience, like, stop doing that. It's really offensive. Like, that was really, really clever. It was really clever. And actually, he ends up being the person that you're with for it a lot of the time. He takes you through the story. So it's being told, like, now I kind of feel like sometimes comics are aimed at groups. And if you're not in that group, you don't have a right to read it or talk about it or have an opinion on it. Whereas with this was about bringing the audience in. You know, it was like when I initially said that to someone, I didn't really like the Black Panther film. I was shouted down, like, it's not yours. You can't have an opinion on it. Like, but it's a film. Like, It's okay to like, not like, or be indifferent about something. It's perfectly fine. Then we can have a discussion. Like, nope, it's not yours. Whereas with Black Panther, Christopher Priest, Black Panther, it was like, let's bring the audience in. Let's educate
Yeah.
people. It's like, that's how you should do it. So it was a really smart way to do
Yeah,
it
it's educational and enlightening. It's not
without
this is
feeling
the
like it's
lesson and this is how
educational.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how you're supposed to feel, and this is the message. It doesn't do that. It's
No.
just Christopher Priest really painting a picture of what it would be like be watching T'Challa and not understanding the politics and the world that he comes from. It's so cool. It's such a great series.
Oh, incidentally,
Nice.
happy birthday for February, Omega Bread, because you might not mention it again, and I did pick up on that in the chat. Do you have
Well, no,
any honorary mentions?
no, I think I listed everything that I wanted to list.
Cool.
I got through
Okay.
them all.
Well, interestingly, I did a little video on Instagram, and someone, Jeff Rochelle on Instagram, one of our followers on Instagram, said the Clone Saga Omnibus better be on the list. It's not, but I will mention that Marvel are releasing Spider-Man Ben Reilly Omnibus Volume 2, and that does end the Clone Saga, essentially. It's a re-release, but it's coming out in February. There's the Death of Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus, which is the second time they've printed it. It was a real tricky one to get hold of. If you've been buying the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnis, this ends the Peter Parker era. The title's a slight giveaway, but go with it. Ultimate X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. It's not... I wasn't a big fan of that era. It was after Mark Miller left. I think Volume 1 is the stronger of the books, but I know there'll be a lot of people interested in that book. Image are releasing Invincible Complete Library Edition, Volume 1, again. So if you missed it the first time, this is your chance to pick up that massively oversized Invincible book. Rat Queen's Omnibus, we mentioned. Yeah. Void Rivals by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo Di Felici, who did Chroma, which is a far superior book. I've read the first 2 issues in digital of Void Rivals, and it's fine. There's a lot of hype around it, so it's very tricky not to kind of go, okay, impress me, and then you go, okay, it's fine. It's okay. But a lot of people are really hyped about it. But if you want to get into the whole Energon universe thing that will have those alien characters that are new characters, as well as the Transformers, G.I. Joe, and I'm not sure which other Hasbro characters may end up in it, that's a place to jump on. Void Rivals Volume 1. DC are releasing The Kingdom, the 25th Anniversary Deluxe Edition, which is the sequel to Kingdom Come. I have tried to read this
Never read it.
and it is hard going. I'm going to give it another try this year because it is a kind of crossover, so I'm going to do a thing. But it's not necessarily the greatest, but I have pre-ordered it. And finally, The Question Omnibus Volume 2, which I believe wraps up the 80s run, 80s kind of maybe even 90s, early 90s run of The Question by Denny O'Neil. I love the look of The Question. I've read the early issues of this, and it can be quite a tough read, but I'm really looking forward to getting the set and doing a whole read through. Yeah, that's my last one. We're going to have an episode that goes out next week, and it will be an interview with Eric and Fred Kennedy, writer of Dead Romans. So he's coming back on the show.
Nice.
He was on last year. He's coming back this year. And I believe it's a collector's item special episode.
Yes, it is.
Stay tuned.
Yes, it is.
On top of that as well, when we come back for our next live, what we were thinking of doing was taking some of your questions. Feel free to fire questions our way, but what would be really, really nice, and we might try and be really clever, and I'll probably screw it up, is drop in video. If you want to send us your questions in video format, fire them our way because there's more chance we'll use them. Send them to us in a direct message on Instagram. We're on there as Omniverse Comics Guide, and make sure you choose Allow Replay. And be sure to confirm what you'd like us to call you. It could be a handle, it could be a nickname, or it could even be your real name. We don't care, just let us know what you want us to call you. But it's better if you do it that way around, because obviously screens go that way around when we're making these for YouTube. Fire us your question. If you don't want to be on screen, by all means use a hand puppet, action figure, or toilet brush with googly eyes stuck on it. Don't care, be inventive. But come up with a question. It can be whatever you like, preferably comic related. But hey, we can take it. So fire your questions our way, and we'll do a speakeasy a slightly different way. And the questions will come from you, my pretties.
Great idea. Well, all right. Stay tuned for our episode next week with Fred Kennedy. Maybe some other surprises along the way. We can't give too many things away, but yes, we will be back. Send us those questions, everybody. Omniversecomics.guide. Be sure to check it out, everybody. Everybody watching on YouTube, Twitch, different podcast platforms. Don't forget to rate and review the show. Everyone, thank you for tuning in with us. We love you. We appreciate you. Signing off, Dave.